You are now listening
to the Black Male Educators Alliance podcast.
Lifting our voices.
Lifting our voices.
Welcome back. It's the BMEA Podcast, Lifting Our Voices. I am your host, Michael Payne. This is not Curtis Lewis, but, we're going to get to that in a second. I want to introduce you to our co-host now. I'm sending my love to Dr. Lewis. He's away for the moment, but my co-host now is the Director of Mentoring for BMEA and a good friend of mine, Joe Bush. How you feel, man?
Feel great, man. Just ended a bomb session with some families and mentees. Got that off the ground, man, so I'm excited.
Great, man. How's everything else been with you?
Man, things have been good. Been a lot of leg work as we gearing up, going into our schools, providing some mentor services for our young black guys, man. And it's just, I'm excited.
Well, great. For those who don't know, BMEA, obviously a lot of our work has been in teacher fellowships, principal wellness, school partnerships, but we just opened our third facet, which is the mentoring program, right? The Male Mentoring Program. And so Bush, who's been leading that charge, we've gotten our first week of orientation for the mentoring, and it's gone great. And so we're going to show you some quick highlights from Pierce Middle School and Detroit Achievement Academy with our first sessions with our boys.
Looking forward to the work here with the fellas. Let's come on in. Let's meet the guys. Let's get it going.
So it was really dope, man. It was good to be back in with the kids. I've been out the classroom for a little minute, so I love any chance I get to, pour some wisdom on and, just rap with some kids, man. So that was dope. If you guys, as a school leader or anything like that, are interested in any mentoring program for next year, reach out to this brother right here, Bush, at blackmaleeducatorsalliance.org, and we'll do some talking, as well as I actually just talked to one of the principals from one of the schools that we're currently in mentoring, Principal Mario Lemons, and we had to have a little conversation just around, why mentoring was important for him to be at his school and just how BMEA has impacted him. Let's take a look. So I'm here with Principal of Detroit Achievement Academy, Mario Lemons. How you doing?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, you?
Good. It's October, second month of the school year, so we're getting right into it, man, and we started our mentoring program here at your school, and my first thing to you is just, why mentoring, why is it important to, with your vision that you have here at DAA?
Yeah, first off, I'm grateful that you guys were even willing to spend your day hanging out with my kiddos. For us, we value socio-emotional learning and development, character development, just as much as academics. And so, when I heard about the program and your vision to be able to bring that into the school through mentorship, it just was aligned. It just made sense for you all to be a part of it. I have a group of young men that, I try my best to mentor, as the leader of the school, but to have additional men in the community to be able to pour into our young people, I'm just super grateful, and I'm happy that now they are going to get access to other people as another resource, as another connection, as another adult that they can trust and know that have their best interest at heart.
So you're familiar with BMEA before. You've been in our principal wellness program.
Yeah.
Talk to me and talk to us about how that program has helped you just become a better leader in your school.
It's helped in a number of ways. I think the basis of it being, focused on wellness. As a leader, that's something that you kind of take a second backseat to, right? When you think about, working hard and being there for your community, sometimes you kind of forget about yourself. And it's been really wonderful to be able to be a part of a network of other principals and leaders that value putting your wellness first. It has allowed me to shift my thinking about how I can be the best leader I can by prioritizing myself. That it's not a selfish thing to be able to say, hey, I need to prioritize self-care and make some goals around fitness or mental health, and so that's been really great, but also just being a part of a network of other leaders that understand the language, understand the life that I live. And so there's sometimes that there's conversations I just can't have with my teacher friends or people who may be in education but don't quite understand the nuances of being a school leader. And so being able to be a part of the wellness fellowship allows me to have a strong network of people that I can just text a couple words and they understand, they understand the struggle when it's count day, which is today, and being able to just say, I made it. And they totally understand what I'm saying. And it just gives that validation that you're doing the right thing. It's hard, but it's worth it.
What advice would you give to aspiring principals or new leaders, and just in terms of feeling successful at their job and doing a well job? What's some of the keys that you found in your years?
This is my 4th year as a principal, and one of the things that come to mind to begin with is that being able just to know that every single day is a new experience,
Right.
And sometimes you don't do it right? You do the best that you can, and knowing that you can forgive yourself every night and rededicate yourself every morning, it does put things in perspective that, hey, I did all that I could for the day. I know with integrity that I gave them 100%. The next day I can give it another try, and not beat myself up so much about, I wish I'd done this a little differently, or, that conversation with that teacher, parent, kid didn't quite go the way I wanted to. But guess what? You did what you needed to do in that moment. Forgive yourself that night and rededicate yourself the next morning. So that's one thing that I think, but also just thinking about keeping the humanity of the work at the forefront, because I think as we continue to progress through various parts of the role, it can get kind of difficult to remember why you're doing this work, because it can be some things that happen that kind of drain you a bit, or become you become a little callous around these particular areas. But the humanity of it is that we're doing this for the kids. Right. That our kids need a leader that's going to push a vision forward and make hard decisions for the betterment of the whole school, and knowing that these little babies are the ones that are going to be affected negatively or positively by decisions that you make.
Absolutely. So speaking of dream, we don't keep it too long. I appreciate your time. Yeah. We hope that this mentoring program is going to benefit you in this school in a way that makes your job easier, right? And build strong relationships. And so we're super excited. We appreciate you.
Oh man, my pleasure. Yeah.
And take care. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. So yeah, that was dope, man. I'm glad BMEA has had an opportunity to, we've touched teachers, we've touched principals, and we're working with the kids, and so we're all throughout the schools, right? What I'm saying, every level. But I think the kids are the most important, man. So I think,
absolutely,
this conversation today is just really about mentoring, right? Why is mentoring important to you? What does it mean to mentor? Because I think there are some mentoring programs out there where people are just showing up and, they just kicking it, but it's not really bearing any good fruit. So to you, man, like what is important? What's the important part of a mentoring program, especially for boys?
I'm gonna take that a little bit further, man. I'm gonna talk about for black boys.
Okay.
So I think mentoring programs for black boys is especially important because, just take, for you instance, we live different life experiences than, somebody from a different background. You come from Baltimore, so it's certain type of things that you picked up in Baltimore, that say a white male or a white female may not be able to give to them. And the good thing about it is you come from where you come from, I come from where I come from, and man, by being in the education system, when we put that together, we're able to give our boys things that we know that they're gonna need, that we know that they can use, and honestly, things that's gonna engage them, because that's the very first piece, man. Nothing means nothing if it's not getting through to our young guys. So, man, the way we set it up, we got it where it's interesting. We get them thinking on their feet. Right, and also just they develop that sense of compassion and empathy, and man, they just want to give back, and they you hear them say like, man, like I want to do what you do. So man, when I hear that, man, it's like hey, we making some things happen.
Yeah, man. So my story is interesting. Actually, my first example of mentoring, because I don't think I was really in any mentoring programs. I was in a lot of extracurricular stuff. My first example mentoring was my dad. So my dad's from New York. I grew up and spent a lot of my early childhood in Delaware, smushed between Baltimore and Philly. And my dad had this program called Thursday Club, which was really at the church, and it was all teen boys, right? And at first it was supposed to be really like teen Bible study, but he wasn't really into that much. He kind of just took it as an opportunity to just talk about topics with black men. Especially in your blackness, right? So talking about historical things, talking about current things, like what you go through as a teen. And it was really impactful. The church may have at first had their thoughts about it, but they saw the impact that it was having because these boys were able to kind of like find a space to be vulnerable about what's happening with them outside of school, right? Yeah. And I think we talk about mentoring, right, in this idea that school isn't able to do everything, right? Just like parents aren't able to do everything. It takes a village. It takes a community. And so, when you look at mentoring programs, like what mentoring programs are able to offer the child, especially a black boy, is this space to tap into the other parts of themselves outside the academic, right? So talk a little bit about, why do you feel like mentoring was so important for you to do?
Oh, man. A lot of people don't know I'm from Georgia. So when I came up here, it was pretty much I knew my grandfather, not that much of a educational background, and my uncle, he made it out of high school, and that was like pretty much it. So those were like the two males in my life who I was, being influenced by. Mm-hmm. So when I step out into different spaces, especially school, because I had to go to school, I didn't see a lot of me. In those spaces. I had people constantly telling me what to do, kind of harping down on me about the things that I'm not doing well, but they weren't there to actually like kind of show and guide me to do the right things. So being a part of the organization, man, that's actually like my first, I would say, experience of mentorship, because I get to learn, a lot of things from you. I get to learn things from Doc, I get to learn things from Waston, and even when we have our fellowships, man, just to see a group of brothers in there, some people at a different level, some people, far advanced, some people just now beginning. But when I kind of look at like what's being done with the fellowships, everybody just guiding everybody. Nobody's really better than anybody. It's like, hey, I got a positive tool for you to use. You can use it if you want to, or you don't have to. But for me, that's how mentors been working for me. Just being around a group of positive people, things that I want to engage in, things that like are at the core of who I am. And it's really just got me on a course not only to do better, but like put out some good work in this world and make sure that everybody else is, just becoming the best versions of themselves, man. Because that's really what mentoring is us guiding people, we can guide it.
Absolutely. I mean, you said a lot of great things, man. I think that, you can be inspired by the group that you're around, right? You can be uplifted. And then also, just in this space where you're thinking like, hey, I can learn so much from the people around me. And I think with these kids, they have that opportunity too, right? Whereas it could be happening in the classroom, right? But there's a lot of dynamics in the classroom, right? Where here the focus is them, right? Here the focus is who you are, who do you want to be, and how to be the best version of yourself. Can you talk a little bit about how BMEA's mentoring program is different? And so our program is the intergenerational mentoring program. Like, talk a little bit about what does that mean, intergenerational, when you hear that?
So, man, think about it like this: relationships. The impact of it is kind of like based upon the proximity, right? Mm-hmm. If I know you, I'm more likely to listen to you. If we're closer in age, I'm really more likely to listen to you. So with our intergenerational mentoring program, we are really just cultivating high school students and college students as well to just be able to go out into these schools and into the community and just do some positive work, right? And so with especially our high school students doing some positive work, we don't think that that's something that should be just like kind of take it lighthearted, man. Like, hey, you in this position and you are being responsible, and you being a steward of this work. So like, man, like it's something that comes with that. And so I think what our students need to see, along with the experiences, they need to get like some like compensation for it, right? So aside from the intergenerational piece, we are looking to make sure that we increase the pipeline for Black male educators. And, the work that we do, man, we really think is really, really fruitful. And once our young mentees start really kind of picking up what we putting down, like myself, man, I was around educators and like I just got sucked into the education, the field of education. So like, man, with this work, the impact, the time, the relationships we gonna build with them, it's our vision. Through that intergenerational piece, we continue to, build that pipeline of Black male educators because it's needed. It's needed.
No, absolutely. What I truly believe is, people who, like you said, some people have teaching in their family, teaching in their bloodline, so that's a part of it, right? But we know there's a lack of Black male educators, partly because of desegregation, but also partly because a lot of our brothers aren't making it to college. Of the few that make it to college, maybe partly athletically or whatever the case may be, they have like a specific discipline that they're going into. So it doesn't leave a lot for young Black men who go into college to end up going for education. On top of the fact that education as a profession has been, doesn't have like necessarily like a great narrative going right now and isn't treated, properly. But what I do believe is that those who do answer the call to teach are inspired, right, by not just the idea of lifting up their community, but by some sort of Black consciousness. And I think that when we talk about this program, right, the two things that are going to be important for us is that for kids are going to be able to bear the fruit of this is what happens, or this is the feeling I get when I help out others. This is the feeling I get when I help a young brother who was just me a couple years ago, right? And like now you have some responsibility, right? Now it's just I think we raise our girls to learn how to take care of babies really early on, right? They doing that naturally, but there's nowhere in our community like culturally where our boys are learning like how do men take care of other people, right? How do men take outside of money, like outside of being a provider, but how do you like emotionally take care of someone? How do you lift as you climb, as so to speak. Like once you get to a certain point, you turning around and pouring into other people. Like I think that's a learned skill. Yeah. And so the great thing about this program, the way we have it set up, you have a young man who might, come out of this middle school, go into high school, and then want to come back and mentor their elementary, middle school mentees that's in the same program, right? Go into college and do the same thing. And then after all that time working with young men and working in schools and working, with the youth, they've already kind of picked their own path, right? This is my passion now, is to help others and to work and to teach. So it's a beautiful thing when it works to, with fidelity, man. And so I'm super excited Talk a little bit, when we talk about mentoring, outside the academics, one of the big parts is character development, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like, what do you think are, like, the important parts or maybe some of the core values of, like, building someone's character, especially a black man?
Oh, man. So I'm glad you asked that. I would say, like, integrity, we tell our kids to practice integrity, especially our young men to practice integrity, like being like them true selves. But at the same token, we make them feel a certain way when they express a certain emotion. And so, like, that part of integrity is not able to always be upheld. But I think if we are grooming and cultivating our young black boys, we need to teach them, like you said, in their blackness, like, hey, who you are, it's okay. And get them to really just understand what integrity is and how it's modeled. And, being black in this world, man, you gotta have courage. It's so many things, there's so many spaces you're gonna have to step into. And if you're afraid to step into it, if you don't exercise your right to be courageous, like, man, it's lives that should be changed that won't be changed because you won't be as strong as you need to be, or you may fear showing up. And and honestly, I will have to say perseverance. I will say one thing is as black people, we have always had to persevere through situations. But I think when I look at perseverance, like I'm thinking of perseverance as like actually getting what you want and not like giving or taking and accepting what's being handed to you. Like if you telling a kid that he can make it to college, like if that's his dream to make it to college, like if he needs to have something or something more to look for and to give, and like that's what he's persevering to do and be.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Those are great. So you got integrity, which I think is important, courage, right? And I think the courage should just be themselves, is what I heard you say, and that's beautiful, man. Like teaching our young black boys to that it's okay to be themselves and not having to fit into like this monolith that I think people think of black boys, you know what I mean? Or maybe they see, right, only one version of who they represent and then maybe they don't fit into that. So, and that's why I'm so excited about our groups too, because it looks like we have a mixture of different types of personalities and they're all leaders in their own way. So it's going to be great to really like, it's beautiful to be with someone as they're finding themselves, right? More of themselves and being comfortable in themselves, man. So it's a beautiful thing to see, man. So
and my bad to cut you off. I'm gonna actually throw this other one out there, man. The civic responsibility and engagement piece. The work that we do as an organization, the work that needs to be done, like we do have a responsibility. We have made it past situations and certain phases of our life. And it's our responsibility to reach back, right? And not necessarily coddle or pacify them, but like support them in the way that they need to be supported, right? While also holding them to a high level of accountability along with high expectations, because that's how we began to push this thing and push humanity forward to where we need to be.
Hey, that's a big piece you're talking there. And I think in a separate conversation, a separate podcast, we can talk about some of the issues people are having in schools and teachers are having in schools with our kids. And a lot of it has to do with just not having high expectations for them, right? Or having the relationship or the yearning to push them as hard as you can, right? Like the kids that I love, the kids that know that I love them, know that I hold them accountable. And I'm not afraid to, because they're not going to second guess our relationship. They know how I feel about them, but I'm going to push you hard because I want you to be the best version of yourself. So that's amazing, man. Hey, listen, I'm excited about the work. I wanted to make sure we shared it with the people. We will, you have any last words to wrap us up for this, our podcast? Any last things any points you want to make about the mentoring program, or just, what you're looking forward to?
Honestly, I'm really looking forward to just building these relationships, like real authentic relationships. So we making sure that this isn't, and there's no shake at any other mentoring program, but we are providing actually what they need. We want to get these relationships, develop these relationships with these young guys to make sure that they get the support, right? Because, we are cultivating leaders. When we talk about character development, we really just talking about leadership. And leadership looks different for different people, but whatever lane and avenue you are in as a young black male, you have a superpower, and we are just trying to make sure you are able to tap into it and reach back and, be stewards of this work and give back to the generations that are coming behind you. So, I mean, mentoring is like really my life. It's the reason why I'm in education, and I do believe the more black males we get into education, we're going to just continue to transform this landscape and to where it really needs to be to support our students.
Amen. Amen. So, Bush, I appreciate you for joining us on the pod, being my co-host today. Sending love to Dr. Lewis in his absence, and hopefully we'll see him next podcast. It's been a great episode, man. I appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
My brother.
Appreciate it.
And we'll be back in 2 weeks for another episode of BMEA, Lifting Our Voices, the podcast.
You are now listening
to the Black Male Educators Alliance podcast.
Lifting our voices.
Lifting our voices.